Yeah, but they said it'll just continue. It's for natural gas and for electricity, it'll just continue to rise. So I thought that's another So he's like giving us a little bit at a time.
Yeah, he's got an
All right.
What's up, Chuck?
We're on time. All right.
Folks, before we get started, I'd like to tell everybody that we're going to have a closed session, so it's going to be about 6:30 before we actually get started tonight. And we'll go to more normal thing, we'll have the agenda, and then we'll do the vote, do the forum or speak, but it'll probably be a little while before we get to that. All rise, please, we'll do the pledge of allegiance and we'll get started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joe Johnson.
Here.
Katie Johnston. Here. Diana Mendoza. Here. Nikki Pettit. Here. Joe Robinson.
Here.
Tyler Wilson.
Here.
John Brotherton.
Here. Okay, 2 action agenda items, additions, corrections, modifications.
As a reminder, we're not approving the truth and taxation hearing. I still haven't fixed that. All right.
Guess we're going to go on to number 3,
We
closed
have to have
session.
a motion.
Sorry, we have to have a motion for that agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda, removing and correcting items as presented.
Thank you, Tyler. Second.
I second it.
Okay, Ricky seconds it.
Moto Johnson.
Just for my knowledge, what are we approving?
The consent or the agenda for the meeting.
I think, I wanna, say on one of the agenda parts is the alternate school thing. I think we need to table that. I don't think I got enough information. I don't think the public spoke, on it. And I think, there's a lot of concerns, and I think everybody needs to be, the board especially, needs to hear what everybody has to say before we especially before we vote on it. So I think it needs to be tabled, and we can talk about this a little bit later. I don't think there should be a decision made tonight.
So removing it from the agenda would mean we're not discussing it either.
That's fine.
So board members can vote yea or nay on approval of the agenda.
Okay, if you were asking me.
Okay, so Moto Johnson.
Nay.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. Number 3, closed session. Can I read that? I can.
Just the motions. all
Just
we
the
have to
motions.
do.
I make a motion to move to closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees and the purchase or lease of real property for use of the public body.
Thank you. Wait a second.
I second it.
Joe seconds it.
Moto Johnson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
So I am going to pause the audio and the video recording, so it won't be recording.
It's all right.
Taking me out for the night.
Don't have to.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to come back in closed session. I'll make the motion.
I second it.
Second it.
Moto Johnson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza. Aye. Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Joe Robinson,
Aye.
Terry Wilson,
Aye.
John Rutherford.
Aye. Okay, I believe we're ready for public comments. First one is Moto Johnson.
Just so the board knows, and everybody in this room, I'm not in a good mood. There's a lot of things on my mind. I probably don't have the 5 minutes to say everything I actually want to say. And some of it just out of respect to myself and my family, I'm not gonna say. But I will say things that you hear and I hear from the rest of the community, doesn't always come from us. I'm gonna let you know that right now. One thing we need to correct is what's going on with this school system with all the bullying. The bullying has also went from this school to now the high school, where kids are now trying to commit suicide. I'm tired of it. Nobody in this community even wants to run for board member of Rantoul City Schools. We'll have the same people up here doing the same daggone thing, except for probably one person. And it ain't right. It's not right for these kids. And it's not right for the parents. Now, if you as board members want to keep doing what you're doing, that's fine. I'm not going to follow your lead. I will never follow what you guys are doing. You can go home and go to bed at night, that's fine. I can't. I am tired of it. I'm tired of the bullying. I'm tired of the situations where kids are getting locked in, or let's not even say locked into doors or locked into rooms. We got people that are resigning, retiring, or quitting that we never find out about. I'm not only talking about the parents, and I'm not only talking about these kids, I'm talking about your staff. You guys hide and cover up so much crap that nobody even knows about it, but yet you guys sit there and smile and act like you guys are doing something. If you guys respect yourself like that, I feel ashamed for you. You're weak. I'm weak for being a part of sitting in that table and agreeing when I really don't agree with half the stuff. But like Dr. Wood said back there, four votes is all you need. 4. I'm tired of it. I'm telling you right now. I'm tired of it. These people out here are tired of it. We're not doing nothing to help these kids. We're not doing a daggone thing to help these kids. And that's what we were voted in for. We voted in, actually, 2 of you been appointed in by the rest of the 4 or 5 of us, whatever. I was told in my situation that what I'm doing ain't working. So I'm gonna say it tonight. What we are doing is not working. It's not working, and it won't work if we keep doing what we're doing. We are the board. He is the superintendent. Use people. Use people. That's how used people are. Ain't that what you guys told me in that room? Mr. Robinson, Mr. Woods? Use people. I don't even understand what use people mean. What people? I want to know. You tell me. Because I'm black?
What are you talking about?
What do you mean, what am I talking about? You want me to bring it up?
Bring whatever you want. Yeah.
So you're interrupting me as a parent, Mr. Robinson. You're gonna interrupt my time.
Your time's up.
Thank you.
Melissa?
Okay, all right. Never done this before, don't know how it works. Can I ask questions? Do you guys answer?
Not typically.
Not typically?
We will get back with you.
Okay, well, how does that work? When do you get back to me? Behind closed doors or in front of the public so everybody can hear you?
We'd imagine there would be a phone call.
Phone call.
But there's also typically, time at the end for the board to respond to public
Okay.
comments.
Well, I would love to know what used, if that was the word that Mr. Johnson used. I would love to further know what that meant, because it seemed to ruffle some feathers.
What used meant?
Yeah, use people, if that was the word that Mr. Johnson.
I don't, just to clarify, I did not understand if he was saying YOU''S, use, or USED.
Yeah, like use, like you people. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, same thing, same question, because I don't think any of us really understood because you guys, that kind of got cut off. So I would like that to be explained a little further. I have 3 children that are in the Rantoul City Schools. Sadly, I went to Rantoul City Schools. But thankfully, my parents had the opportunity to get me out of Rantoul City Schools so that I could graduate and further my education. Sadly, Rantoul has gotten worse. And like Mr. Johnson said, clearly something's not changing and clearly something needs to change for things to get better. I'm not sure how many people on the board actually have children in Rantoul City Schools. I'm sure that everyone out here has someone that goes to Rantoul City Schools. But if you guys aren't affected, I don't think that you guys can truly make the right decisions and make the right calls for the people who are actually affected by the decisions that you guys choose to make behind closed doors and then give us half of the information. I guess I will get a call or it will be discussed afterwards. Maybe we can figure out half of, the used people or whatever the term Mr. Johnson said. I guess I got two minutes and
No,
35
yeah,
seconds.
I was looking because I have a
just-
question. No.
Yeah, you can ask.
I don't understand what your point is. Are you just telling us
My
that we're
point
doing?
is, like I said, I've never done this before, but my
Okay.
point is that clearly things are not being done, things are not changing. Rantoul is not getting better, they're getting worse. And sadly, like I said, I don't see how a board of people can make decisions when they're not affected. Does that make sense? Do you get my point there?
I understand what you're saying there, but when
Okay.
you say that we're getting worse, I guess in behavior and
As
how.
in our children, the behavioral issues, the teachers are dropping like flies. I mean, people are moving and leaving Rantoul City Schools to work in other communities when Rantoul would be a better fit for them as far as traveling, as far as they've been here, they've lived here, but they're seeking other opportunities because they don't trust the Rantoul school system. The teachers don't trust you guys, and you guys are supposed to be their backbone. You're supposed to be their voice. And you guys aren't doing that, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Like I said, I went to Rantoul City Schools. Things are not the same. Teachers are not the same. They don't have the same passion, which in my opinion, that means that they're not getting the support from higher ups and they're not getting the support from you guys. And that's just my opinion. I mean, I can sit here and kind of see how demeanors are. You guys clearly are not one, and that is sad. And like I said, this is my first time here, and how can we trust you guys when you guys clearly can't even sit at the same tables together? It's like having two parents who argue all the time. So we can't trust you, which means our kids can't trust you, which means our parents can't trust you, which means our community can't trust you, which means our police officers can't trust that you guys are giving our children the tools that they need to be better citizens. Rantoul will never grow. You guys are trying, in my opinion, to keep up with the Joneses, and you gotta fix the problems first.
Thank you. Wendell, Olson?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm gonna try to make this as fast as I can. There's, right now, it's so much going on here. We gotta make a turn. Several parents whose children attend school in 137 has expressed that doors are being locked with students behind the doors. And the only security that's supposed to be here is the security where we as the general public are buzzed in. Now, if you're doing it, stop it. If you're not doing it, you better not start it. But the children have said it, not just their parents, the children have said it. I don't know what room you all have here, but I guarantee you, these children are not lying, and these are not children from the same family. So let's look into that. As
Can you be more specific? I don't know what you mean by children being locked behind closed doors.
behavior students, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's that. It's not supposed to be locked from the inside nor the outside. The only security that we're supposed to have is from that front door when we come here to visit, okay? So that's not supposed to be, all right? And it's definitely not a lie because it happened. And it was witnessed by one of them, possibly two. I think it was two. So it's not supposed to be happening. Let's get that out of the way right now. It's not supposed to be happening. If we can't control these children, you're definitely not gonna lock them up behind doors. Because supposedly this happens, and something else happens, and you have to evacuate, and these students are behind those doors. We can't afford that. Another thing, when they talk about making decisions, if your district is not good enough for your children, you shouldn't be sitting on this board. If this district is not good enough for your children, you shouldn't be sitting on this board. Resign, retire, or don't run again. Do not sit on this board. We owe that to the people who pay the taxes. Don't sit on this board. This is not a job. Do not sit on this board. If 137 is not good enough for your children, do not sit on this board. I don't care who want to appoint you. you need to have sense enough to say no, because this school district is not good enough for my children. Don't sit on this board. And we, as the general public, want this to be the last year that if your children are not good enough and they are school age to be in this school, you don't need to be on our board. All the way around. We don't want you on the board. You may be qualified, but make yourself qualified at the school district that your children are attending. Point blank. Another thing, Dr. Wood, Mr. Brotherton, Madam Vice President, we had the Social Equity Working Group. That should have been a report put out. It's long overdue, especially regarding the literacy. It's long overdue. Come on now, you all. Don't have it working, and then we don't get the information that we're supposed to have. As far as what's going on with the discipline here, the fighting and everything that's going on, Dr. Woods, you and I talked about it. We want to hear from these parents, because we got to make a change on this. It's flowing over to the high school. We got to make a change. Change got to happen.
Thank you.
Right, you want to?
Mr. Wright? Area?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. How are you?
Kind of came to listen to a lot of what's been going on because I've been hearing a lot for a while, and recently had to experience some of the negativity myself. I also have 3 daughters that go to these schools. My middle child's going here. You know, for the most part, she's straight A student. She gets high honors, I think, every quarter this year. She had got into it with some other girls that was threatening to do some harm to her. And it was over a weekend. And then when she came to school and they were all sitting in the gym, the little girl was pretty much taunting her out, yelling and screaming across the gym, you know, daring her to get up and run up on her and to fight her or whatever. My daughter got up. As she went to approach her to get in her face, her cousin, another student, grabbed her, and that was pretty much all that happened. A bunch of yelling was going on, and then my daughter got up and she had got grabbed. However, I got a phone call saying that my daughter was in a fight and that we're gonna give her in-school suspension. And at the time, that was all the information that I got. And then come to find out, there were videos, and then I got more information from other people and students, and I didn't quite understand why my daughter was suspended for not fighting, and the other girl was wandering the hall, still talking crap in the hallway, and was able to go to her classes, and my daughter wasn't. Now, the only reason why I bring up, you know, her grades and her behavior prior is because I think it does matter. I think it matters that this other little girl had been in 3 fights before this happened. I'm hearing from other students saying that this girl is always causing trouble, causing fights, but she wasn't suspended, and my daughter was. Now put yourself in my daughter's shoes. You know, she's got to miss her classes. And then not only that, she's an athlete, one of the star athletes. Her coach is one of the teachers. They go to this school. And the first thing what she said to my daughter was, I got 2 words for you, or 2 things to say to you. She said, 1, you're selfish, and 2, you're not playing tonight. Where's the coaching? Where's the mentorship? You're the coach. This is one of your star athletes. Never been in any trouble, straight A's. And that's the first thing you say is you're selfish? Not, hey, Gary, what's gotten into you? This isn't like you. You know, what's going on? Because in my house, there's a lot going on. That's out of my daughter's control, but it affects her greatly. And it seems like there's a lot of people in authority that call themselves teachers and coaches that just don't care. And then when it comes to discipline, you pick and choose who you want to discipline. It ain't right. And that's why I'm here. And just like what's going on at the high school. Then I hear with the situation at the high school that there was a teacher or someone, an authority that worked at the high school that was talking to another student that said, well, if she didn't say or do what she did or say, then she wouldn't be in the situation. That's your response to what happened? And you're an adult and you're talking to another student that way? Well, she shouldn't have said what she said, like basically you got what's coming to you type thing. It sounds personal to me. My daughter's sitting in suspension and the other girl's running up and down the hall, still yapping her mouth. Sounds personal to me. So yeah, and it, obviously it's not just me. Like I said, I've heard a lot of the same stuff going on. Neighbors, other people in the community, parents, the students, and at some point you gotta say or do something. Every night I'm at home with my girls telling them, own your part in it. You can't hate every teacher. They're not all wrong. They're not all bad. Until I take them, wait a minute. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe you're being picked on. That same daughter today walked past the teacher. This was a substitute teacher. And he accidentally elbowed her in the head. And she said, hey, Mr. So-and-so. And he turned around with attitude like, what, you need to go to the office? She said, no, I just wanted you to apologize. You hit me in the head. This is how my daughter's getting treated. Something does need to change.
Thank you.
Rana? Light. Is that right? Glass?
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. I got it.
Hello.
So I'm with her. I wish that this would be interactive. That would help. You know, like that makes it feel like it's a real meeting, not just your. Yes, absolutely. And then also I'm with Ariel. I feel like I have the same kind of concern. There was a situation with my son, who goes here, and he was told that by another, I don't know whether he was told or not, but that there was gonna be a fight, that this boy wanted to fight him. I don't know if he was told by the boy or if he was told by a group of kids. Irregardless, this is what I was told, not by my son. My son says he didn't know about it. He did not know that there was gonna be a fight. He entered the bathroom and then there was a fight. Now, my son, whom I can trust, told me, I didn't know there was gonna be a fight. I went into the bathroom, there's a group of other boys that are in the bathroom. And I put my hands up and the boy starts punching me. Well, I have it on video. I have the proof. So I know that my son was attacked and he got suspended. It was severe. It was a lot less time than the boy that fought him. He got less time, but he's still getting suspended because he knew there was going to be a fight. Seriously? How do you know that? I said, was there text messaging proof that my son knew there was going to be a fight? Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying everybody, I did a 3-hour search. I did a 3-hour investigation and I know that he knew there was going to be a fight. My son said, I did not want, he said, you know, if the boy wanted to fight me, I would have fought him after school. He said, and I admitted that. He said, but I didn't want to fight in school because I didn't want to get suspended. And clearly he didn't fight. He got attacked. And it's on video and it's all around Rantoul where other parents are coming to me telling me that they saw my son get beat up. He's now being made fun of by a teacher, mind you, that he got beat up. He better not be getting in fights because he doesn't want the same thing to happen to him again that already happened to him. That's crazy. That's crazy. So that's my concern about that. Bullying, fighting, whatever, TikTok. Nobody looks at TikTok?
I do all day long.
So, I mean, you gotta see the stuff that's going on in your city.
I don't. I've seen one.
I mean, that's sad.
About Champaign-Urbana.
That's sad. That's sad that you don't see what's going on in your city with your kids. That's sad. I don't have TikTok and I see it. I know what's going on in
It all
TikTok.
depends on, I look at cooking videos.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's what comes up on my feed.
Well, maybe you should pay attention is what I'm saying. Maybe
No,
you
it's all
guys.
about what comes up on your feed. It's not whether or not I'm paying attention, it's about what comes up on your feed.
Don't you have to have friends and follow people and?
Exactly, and so if you're not
Right.
following those
So that's what I'm
people, and it
saying, that
doesn't
you
come up
guys
in
should
your feed, then it
plug
doesn't come up on your
in
main feed.
to your children.
It's being shared. It's a form of bullying. It's being shared.
Everybody
They're
sees it
sharing
but
the, they're
them.
sharing the video in a way of making fun of him for getting beat up.
And what else? You have something else?
Absolutely. I have something else to say. Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
If your kids are failing or they have an F in one class, your teachers should reach out to the parents. Not just send a letter home and say, I think that your kid might be retained or whatever the case may be. Work with the parents, work with the teachers. Let's set up some kind of, besides the after hours, because kids, sign up for after hours if you want to stay. That's not cutting it. And, you know, if you clearly see that a kid is not putting in enough effort, there needs to be a plan set up. Yes, there's 504. Yes, there's IEPs, but why aren't they being suggested? If we feel like kids need this.
Or followed.
So that's all. I hope that you guys are very concerned about, there's been more than just me saying that kids are getting beat up. I hope you guys are very concerned in the school setting, in the bathrooms, whatever the case may be. But my son should not have been suspended. I'm sorry?
So I'm confused about that, but okay.
You want to see the video?
No, that's not what I'm confused about.
Oh, okay.
I'm confused about someone being suspended.
Absolutely. I'd be concerned. And I, you know, but we're supposed to say, okay, that's your solution. And we're supposed to go along with it. Thank you.
And
I don't know if I can follow that and then have anything really good to say. What I'm happy about tonight is at least we're getting a chance to address before any voting is done and stuff like that. Obviously, everybody knows Moto and I travel together a lot and we're friends. It's heartbreaking that a week ago, Moto and I had to turn around from going to a game and pick up his daughter who had a panic attack. I still don't know what happened there. Moto's kept that pretty private. But I don't know what needs to be done. What I know is what's being done is not working. It's like if you have a multiple answer to a question, you know which one is not right. You guys are selecting the ones that aren't right. And if it's targeted to certain kids to discipline them, shame on you. It ought to be across the board. Everybody gets the same. Now, I'm not here to say, oh, if somebody gets violent, hey, if they started it, they deserve whatever they get. But you know what? If someone's talking in class, they shouldn't be given a suspension for a week. That's ridiculous. Some of these people that are living here, their relatives, English isn't even their first language. How are they supposed to get help at home with their homework when their parents don't know what they're reading? I know that's kind of a little off the topic. But I remember him talking last board meeting. I don't think segregating kids off for a semester is the right thing to do. Unless, like we're talking about, somebody start to fight in the bathroom. Or something else. And there seems to be, sorry to say, a lot of covering up going on what's happening. And if that's true too, that's horrible. What is bad about this is everybody sitting up here is volunteer. With the exception of the superintendent, of course. And I don't know, maybe these people are, they get paid too for being here, but, you know, I don't know if I would sit here and endure what all these people are saying they're not getting paid. But you know what? They all have kids here. They want to see it get better. And I'm not talking about building new buildings or shiny new gyms. I'm talking about the kids' scores have to go up on the test. We gotta turn out people that are either gonna be a credit in this town or a credit on the outside world, where they're proud to say they're from here. And you know what? The Air Force, when it was here, this wouldn't be happening. You know why? A two-star general would have come out, he would have gotten federal money, and he would have had Salute Elementary School, and that would have been the end of the Air Force kids being in the school. And that would have been taken care of. And everyone here knows it. That's it, my time's over. And I'm sure I'm the worst one tonight, but there were some pretty fired up people.
Thank you, Dan. That concludes public comments. Item number 6, consent agenda items.
All right. So what we have is nothing out of the ordinary on this one. Board meeting minutes, financials, personnel report, and donations and grants. Tomorrow, the United Way with Heartland Coca-Cola, or it says donated, coming tomorrow, are dropping by a $1,500 donation to purchase school supplies. And there's one personnel item I would like to highlight. I told him I would be doing this an hour ago. So Tom Majors, could you come on up, please? Okay. He said, what time should I get there? 6:15. So, thank you. This is Tom Majors, and I'm going to introduce him. You don't have to say anything. You just have to sit there, and unless you want to. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Tom Majors, pending board approval, our new Director of Human Resources. Tom Majors has been the principal at Thomas Paine Elementary School in Urbana 116 for the past 3 years. During that time, he led the building through the return to school from COVID restrictions and currently is leading the building while it is undergoing a multi-million-dollar renovation. Before that, he was the principal of Broadmeadow Elementary School for 2 years, during which time the school moved from an underperforming state rating to commendable. Before moving into administration, he was a middle school mathematics teacher and a 4th grade teacher. While a teacher, he served as the president of the Urbana Education Association, and he continues to have an extensive background working with labor relations. Mr. Majors earned a Master's of Education in Master of Education in Education, I have it on there twice, Education Policy Organization and Leadership from the University of Illinois in May of 2017. His bachelor's degree of arts with honors in elementary education was earned at Roosevelt University in 2008. Mr. Majors currently lives in Urbana with his wife, Amy, and daughter, Claire. He is excited, he told me, he is excited to be returning to the Rantoul City Schools to serve in the role of Director of Human Resources, to use his experiences as an administrator to support all the schools in RCS. So this is Tom Majors. Several of you have met him previously. Welcome.
Some even know.
Some even know him. All right. If you want to ask him anything, say anything. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I'm just happy to do that.
All right. Okay. How's it? I feel like you should have to do something since you're sitting there. All right. So assuming they approve the consent agenda, you will be hired. And board, the plan is he will, it's in the personnel items, but he will be a 12-month administrator. He is going to start in June, as soon as he closes his building in Urbana for the school year. So I am very grateful that Tom is returning to Rantoul to work with us. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Happy to be here.
I'll come back.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the consent agenda items in the personnel report as submitted with the stipulation that each individual is required to comply with all requirements for new hires as indicated in Illinois statutes and RCS board policy and procedures, including ratification of bills prepaid by the finance manager under board policy 450.
Second? Katie, second?
Mother Johnson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza. Aye. Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Okay. Aye. Number 7, taken care of, right?
We do not have a number 7 because nothing was removed from the consent.
Presentation for wind and solar project, that's possible.
We told them to be out here at 6:30. All right. Come on up. So Verigy board, I have to switch presentations. All right, that's my job. Board members, you have a packet in front of you that looks like this. And there is a one-pager that Ms. Ferris put together. We should probably have you up at the table. You're fine. Let me get this slide.
You want me to get your seat?
Yeah.
No, she doesn't. I know, so, all right, it's up there. Okay, so you're gonna introduce yourselves, right? Or do you want me to get it?
Please.
I'd rather not have you introduce me, sir. That had a few years behind a few things. Good evening. My name is Dr. Preston L. Williams, Jr. I'm former superintendent of Urbana School District 116. Had over 38 years in education. I actually was a former community member here in Rantoul at 222 North Sheldon, apartment 1. I think Mr. Scott actually owned those apartments at one time. My wife worked at Cater. And I apologize ahead of time because when I first came here, I pronounced it Eater. And Miss Marguerite Carter corrected me very quickly as it relates to that. But I had the pleasure of knowing Marguerite, Ed Carter. Still know Marguerite, of course, Ed had passed on. Peggy and Jean Usher, the Cherries, a number of years ago, and actually Reverend Scott attended that church. He actually helped me understand how to correctly pronounce the state of Florida, which he always called Florida. But great community, always enjoyed it. And as I stated earlier, always had a tremendous respect for what Rantoul stood for. Of course, I was here when the base was here. And knowing Mr. Tranquina, who actually was a photographer at my wedding. Well, we'll be married 40 years come July, so it's been a few years. So, but anyway, that's not why I'm here. But I just wanted to kind of give you a little background of who I am and my connection with Rantoul. I'm here with Verigy after I retired a few years ago for the second time. I decided I still didn't want to just sit at home. And I remember a company I had worked with, actually the guy at the end, Vic White, who was former superintendent in Ogden, asked me if I was tired of sitting at home. Sure, what you got? And started talking about Verigy. And we actually had done a lot of work with Verigy, the former company, at Urbana High School and Urbana Middle School. Probably somewhere around $7 or $8 million worth of renovation as it relates to lighting and windows. It was a good company. They worked hard. They were truthful. It's performance contracting, where a lot of superintendents don't have a clue on what performance contracting is about, but it's a guarantee. Basically, the work they do and the savings that they will give you as far as energy is concerned. Well, after working with them a little bit, I said, talking with Gordon here in the middle, the engineer, I said, yeah, I'll come to work with you guys, and I've been doing that. Verigy is a performance contracting company, number of engineers, do a number of different things, and Gordon will talk about that as it relates to your project or possible project, which would be solar and roofing. 25 years in the business, over 600 projects across the Midwest, across everything from municipalities to airports to school districts, colleges, junior colleges, universities. Have offices in Champaign, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Carlinville, and Chicago. And I'd like to take this time to allow my colleague, and he'll introduce himself as well, Vic White.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I'll give you a little background for myself. I was a school superintendent for 24 years at Prairie View Ogden, which borders right up to Rantoul City Schools. Rantoul High School overlaps my district or my previous district for about a third of the land of the 120 square miles that Prairie View Ogden has out in the country. About a third of it, Rantoul High School overlaps. So the kids, some of the kids go up to Rantoul High School from the Prairie View Ogden School District. Also, I started here in 1996. Jerry Zachary was at the high school and Bill Tranquina was here at the grade school. Bill hired my wife for a while, and then my wife went back into the actual hospital working, and then came back here and worked with Rantoul City Schools as your school nurse for 10 more years. So my wife worked in this district for about 16 total years on and off as your nurse in different buildings. So we've got some connections between Preston and myself with Rantoul City Schools. I've done quite a few projects when I was with Prairie View Ogden. One of the big ones was geothermal in 2009. At that time, Mr. Tranquina came after we installed it, and 4 of your board members came and toured Ogden Elementary. And then you guys decided to do all your geothermal with what the previous company was called was CTS, and now it's Verigy. So you have done multiple projects with this same company. It just has a different name right now. So just at the bottom of this screen, you'll see Armstrong. They did a gigantic geothermal for their whole high school. Rantoul City Schools, as I talked. Lakeland College has done 12 or so phases with Verigy. Thomasboro, which is right down the road from you, and all those kids come up here to Rantoul High School. They did some office remodeling we took care of this summer. And then we're building a new building out back, an all-purpose building, along with their administrative offices are gonna go out there of the superintendent and bookkeeper. And then they're also looking at doing some roofing / solar also. Then you go down, Heritage has done like 7 different phases of different projects around us. Unity, right now, we've done 2 big solars at their east and west area. And they're both on the ground, so if you're ever around them, you can see them it runs their buildings. And we also putting up a classroom addition at Unity down there. Prairie View Ogden, which I spoke of, they have done another phase this year at the junior high, which is in Flatville by the church out there. They're putting another geothermal system with us this summer. And the last one, Preston's already touched base with. So leading into that, we're gonna turn over more of the project to Gordon to talk to you, but we want you to be interactive. So if in between, if something comes to your mind, don't wait till the end, just interrupt us. So that way you can get whatever questions you have, we can answer them right away, okay? Does that make sense? Again, thank you for having us.
All right. Well, I'm Gordon Schweitzer. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Illinois. I can maybe speak as a father's perspective. My passion is renewable energy, and I think it's the future for a lot of students and schools across the country, and especially Illinois, with all the incentives that are available that their schools are taking advantage of. I hope some of these concepts with renewable energy, clean energy, and energy savings can be translated into course curriculum that can help the school attract more teachers, knowing that the spaces are sustainable and expose students and junior high kids to renewable energy, so they may be inspired and may be inspired to do things like renewable energy or sustainability clubs or recycling at the high school and into their career. So I'm gonna talk about it from that perspective, but I think I'm really excited about the team we brought to you tonight. And yeah, like Vic mentioned, please feel free to jump into the questions. Some of my stuff gets a little nerdy, so I apologize in advance, but on page 4 here, you can throw any acronyms or shorthand versions of things that you have. Please feel free to ask those questions. But we did a full summary of all 5 locations. And since the geothermal project was done in 2008, the mechanical system runs very efficiently. It'll run efficiently for a very long time. Those systems can run 30 to 50 years. You've done LED, as you see in the lights that are in this room. And you're already taking steps to upgrade your HVAC control system. One item, the green circle there, you'll see is the cost per kilowatt hour, which is a unit of electricity. So as far as if there's potential for solar PV, we look at some of these numbers here saying, hey, you're spending $300,000 a year, and that this was taken a few years ago. So in terms of electricity rate increases, there's a lot of literature out there. You may have some in front of you that says that utility rates are expected to double in the very near term. So this number may creep up, and this type of number we're talking about is fairly large. So from that's why it's a red circle. On the green circle side is your good news, bad news is your rates for electricity are fairly high. So it makes things like solar PV have a greater rate of return. If the value of what you're generating by your solar system is higher, your payback on those systems will also be higher. So that's the good news for solar consideration. So this is kind of the decision you're at right now is you've got at least 3 roofs that are at the end of their rated life. There's no major leaks in those roofs. The insulation is in good shape. Roof replacement in general is a capital intensive project. So typically what happens is a full tear off, all that material ends up in a landfill, and then you put a new roof on that may have a 25 to 30 year warranty. Our proposition is if since that insulation is in good shape, you may not need to spend that money to do a full tear off. You may wish to consider a roof refurbishment, which more or less warranties the roof for 30 years. So it's a weather tight roof, but then add solar PV on top of that roof, which is also a 30-year system. So Your roof is less expensive for one, and two, it starts generating new revenue that the district can push towards other needs. So that is essentially the crossroads. You wouldn't wanna, you save on mobilization costs if you do all these things at one time. So, and you wouldn't want to put a solar system on a roof that you plan to replace in a few years. So that's kind of why we're at the point here, is you can choose a direction. And here's a couple of pictures right here on page 6 of just past customers. The roof system is pretty neat itself. It's a liquid membrane, so it's applied, spread on top of the roof. Some of the advantages here, there aren't any seams. Seams are where you have problem areas when you have overlapping sections of rubber. That's more or less where all your problems are gonna happen. Or if you're putting seams up to roof type equipment. Luckily in all these buildings, since you're all geothermal, you don't have a lot of equipment on the roof, which is where we're focusing our solar systems. But here's just a few photos of what it could look like. Also want to point out, which is neat, our modules are bifacial. What that means is a two-sided module. A couple benefits of that is that one, since you'll have a white roof in all your roofs, it'll actually capture solar bouncing off that roof onto the back of the module. So you're essentially getting more output for every single module you have on the roof. The other benefit of white roofs are cooler roofs as opposed to a black EPDM or rubber roof. White roofs reflect more heat and light away from the roof. So it's either reflected to the module or the heat is off the roof, which allows modules to work more efficiently.
So Gordon, what you're talking about is a liquid membrane that goes on and it hardens. You didn't say
Correct,
that.
yeah.
And then putting solar panels on top of that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And we provide just a few pictures. We've not made any decisions about where the systems will go. One key player in all of this is the village of Rantoul, so we'll work with the village, and we've already had conversations. In fact, we had a meeting this morning. Just plan on how big those systems would be and where those systems would go. So here's a picture of Ader, and approximately solar jargon is 108 kilowatts, about 130,000 kilowatt hours. So about 20 to 25% offset from a electricity usage standpoint.
So solar panels would offset our purchase from the village essentially by
Correct.
20 to 25%.
Correct. Future electricity needs.
Just for that building.
Correct. Correct. So this wouldn't, all these schools would still be connected to the village for power needs. This does not disconnect any connection to the grid, but this, similar to LEDs, provides a source of savings on utility bills.
Now, all the schools that you're talking about, you're saying that you, for example, you said you did not want to put these on something that's going to be replaced in a couple years or whatever.
That's correct.
So are we replacing all these, or should I be asking you this? Are we going to be replacing all the roofs on all these schools so that?
So, yes, so on the agenda, not tonight, but we are in the process of bidding out East Lawn. That is going to be a tear off. Board has to approve it. And then the other three that are remaining, which are, he's going through them right now. At some point in the next few years, we are going to have to come to the table on replacing or doing something like this.
So you're talking about this is going to be an ongoing year to year, possibly 10 years, 20 maybe?
No.
5 years? I'm just asking.
I know.
So,
Go ahead, Jenny.
so basically, where we're at right now, so East Lawn, when they did the evaluation, so we've had our architect and we've had them look at each of the roofs, right? They've done evaluations, which was what brought us here. The board, I believe last year said we want to look into solar. So that's why solar is coming into the conversation at all. Otherwise, it's just about roofs, right? So the estimates to actually replace roofs. East Lawn is the only one that is a have to. We have to replace the roof. It's in too bad of a condition to completely to do a refurbishment. The other ones are still in decent shape that we could do this refurbishment instead of doing the rip off, tearing it completely off. There's huge savings in that because for East Lawn alone, it's gonna be 1.6 to 2 million just for East Lawn to completely redo that roof. So the point of bringing them in and looking at this alternative idea with the roof is by doing since the underneath is still in decent shape, they can put this membrane down and give us another 30 years at a lower cost than if we were to go and try to rip off each of these roofs and do a full replacement. So this is buying us 30 years more at a lower cost than it would be to go and rip off each of the roofs and completely redo those, which is obviously much higher to do. In a perfect world, do you rip them off and completely redo every roof? That'd be fantastic. But the amount of cost, that's as we have to be good stewards with the money in the district and looking at how do we get to where we want to be for the best price that we can. And that's why we're offering this possible solution. The other nice thing about this is then it allows us to bring in the solar. If we go roof by roof, none of us will probably still be alive by the time we actually could afford to get all the roofs done. I know that's really sounds bad, but it's true. That's just financially how long it would take to save up that much money to do each of the roofs. And by then, we cannot put solar on our roofs until we get the roof in condition to be able to do that. So then that would delay our ability to take advantage of the solar. And with the increased costs of energy going up, then obviously the sooner we can put the solar on, the more we can save money and get the benefits long-term. So does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Okay.
That's why something that, are we putting roofs on for 1.6 million and then we're putting what you guys want on, which the roof should last anyways 30 to 35 years, and then another 30 years on top of that, or are we talking about 35 years anyways? You see what I'm saying? I'm just asking.
Yeah.
That's if we go new roof for each building.
Right.
We're not looking at new roofs for each building.
Correct.
Okay.
This will get us to the 25 to 30 year warranties on our roofs without having to do the full cost of ripping
Of a
them
new
off.
roof. Okay, that makes better sense.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Pleasant Acres, this is another school with the roof at the end of nearest end of its life here. Similar size system, offsetting about 58,000 pounds of CO2. Again, the location is pretty flexible, but here's a potential spot of where it could go. And then here's at Northview, similar roof condition. And again, it's great candidates for roofs. You have well fields with the geothermal system on the ground. Benefits of the roof, keeps them off the ground, allows more green space for students, but also they have white roofs that are great real estate for solar PV. White PV and solar PV in Illinois right now. Solar is kind of referred to as a solar coaster sometimes with how the incentives come and go and when they're available, they're not always as much for everyone. The current law of the land right now is the Inflation Reduction Act. That is recent as this year. So previously, nonprofits and school districts were not able to take advantage of tax credits. The IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, has changed that to allow school districts and municipalities to capture those incentives. So that's 30 to 40% of the project cost that's just sitting out there for school districts and municipalities to take advantage of. Also, if you have a roof under the solar system, so those sections of roof that we showed you with that solar on top of it, you could leverage that 30 to 40% offset and include that roof cost that's under the roof as part of the roof system. That's essentially 30 to 40% off your roof under the solar system, in other words. The state of Illinois has the Illinois Adjustable Block Program, which is the solar renewable energy credits. Schools and businesses across the state are using this. This is about 20 to 30% of the project cost. Again, all these incentives are directly to the district from either the federal government, state of Illinois, or whatever we're able to generate. Then when you put the roof, when you update the solar system and then update the roof system, then essentially protects the roof. So your 30-year roof now becomes maybe a 40-year roof because it has an in-between layer between hail and wind and rain and all that.
You just hit on.
Yeah, some other benefits, kind of non-monetary benefits, let's say. Each of the kiosk, which is the picture on the top right, will be in each school. So students, staff, visitors will be able to see the amount of energy generated by the solar system. And concepts like these can be brought into the classroom to make things a little more interactive, a little more fun.
So I'm gonna interrupt you in just a minute. We put a wind turbine at South Elementary, put one of these up in the hallway. It's like a monitor screen, just like you're seeing there. And it shows daily, yearly, everything you're seeing on what that energy of that little wind turbine, 50K wind turbine at South Elementary in Ogden is producing, which is very educational. That's not only for the students, every parent that walks in there or every community member walks in there. So that's what he's trying to get to that. And then also we had little wind turbines. So, and then you hook a fan up and you turn the fan to low and how much is it generating on this little fan? And so now it became a science project. And that's what he's gonna talk about the second part here, you'll see in the bottom left. So it's not just that we're gonna come and do this, we also want you to have something to educate your students with. You understand? That's where Preston and I take a huge look at that stuff, is we wanna also be a good steward to your students so they understand what's happening and what's going on also. Okay.
And I think the important part about that is that this is a new industry.
Yeah.
And as our children decide to go into whatever area, whether it's solar or wind turbine or whatever, this is an opportunity for them to actually learn while they're still at age. They can see it for themselves. How much energy are we producing? How much are we saving from a dollar perspective? When parents come into your building, they can actually see it themselves. And so that offset is very important. Not only is that those would be dollars that you as a school board will be able to utilize in whatever other areas you may feel necessitate that money. But it also gives your parents in the community an opportunity to see how you are good stewards of their money and what's actually happening with the system. So.
All right. That covers it. We also build those STEM solar mobile learning centers. So each building will have one of those, and those are cool to bring outside, connect phones and iPods to. Kids use iPods. They're very neat, and they're mobile and.
I want to take that out of any future presentation. Sore subject.
All right. One of the last slides here, essentially our goal is to try to leverage all these new sources of revenue, with solar savings, the federal dollars, state dollars, working with the village, using the savings that you've recently done on the lighting side here, and essentially capture all the savings and use them to cover the cost of those major capital projects like you have on your roofs that are part of that crossroads, either just tearing off, replacing, or doing the roof refurbishment option. So depending on the direction, you may elect to do multiple roofs, you may elect to do multiple solar systems, but we're here at your service to try to help you out any way we can. So it's February, we're work at your pace. The next step would be doing an infrared imaging of the roof. Essentially, that determines any of the insulation that we would need to remove. We do the electrical design and we work with the village on submitting that. We would buy the materials directly. We're trying more and more available made in the US materials, and that also increases the amount of incentives available to you. And then one thing that's really important to us in all our community projects is utilize local labor, whether that's for electricians, waste disposal, general contracting, carpentry, whatever we might need. Our point is to bring these new dollars into the community and have them stay here. So really working with your timeline, and we appreciate all the time you gave us tonight.
Thank you. Jenny, is there anything we want to add? So I'm gonna ask the question. What are we spending right now on this? Like what? We're not spending anything. That's the answer you're supposed to say. Right?
Yes, we're not spending anything.
All right, I was setting you up on that one. But right now, we're just exploring.
I have one question after you're done.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
What's a 9,000 walk away fee? What's that?
Yes, sir, that's a good point. So part of it, Yes, sir. So
I think the biggest thing, if I could answer from a superintendent standpoint, sometimes you have a very grandiose idea that you really want to get done, but things happen. Okay, so the $9,000 is as Verity comes in and does the infrared on your roofs to determine if they can actually handle solar, if you have bad spots. We were doing a project up in Thornton, and we were working through one, and the roofer came in, he said, man, this roof is okay, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And after we had the little drone go over and do the infrared, and it showed the bad spots that were in that roof that they had just finished. So the room got very quiet. But the walkaway fee is the cost for us to do the deep dive into your roofs, including the infrared and the drones to take a look. And if you decide, okay, we got the information, but we're not gonna do it, you can walk away for $9,000.
Yeah.
That's basic.
We were estimating.
So you get 9,000 no matter if you do it or not, basically, is what you're saying.
But you're doing work though.
Well, yeah, you're doing
We're
something.
doing the
Yeah, I understand that.
infrared, we're giving you a report, showing you exactly
I
what's
just
going
want to
on.
know, so that's
That's a
nothing,
great
that's
question.
nothing in the price of what you're gonna do. That's just, like you just said, walk away fee. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, we probably
The
be,
walk-away fee is meaning that you guys decide, okay, after we give you the data, you don't want it.
Mhm.
Not us walking away. We want it.
Well, yeah. I understand that.
Okay, I didn't know if, I was.
Because it's gonna cost them a lot of money to do that work.
Right.
yeah, it'll probably cost us twice as much to infrared.
No, I
five
understand,
location.
I
Okay.
understand exactly what you're talking about, because I work for a village and they do that when they're getting ready to do
Perfect.
construction on a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
So that's why I wanna make sure that that's what that meant.
And one other thing that we didn't really talk about, we can help with all the grants and stuff. It goes to the IRA, the state. We help with Scott, Jennifer, take care of that. So it isn't like putting more paperwork on them. So we'll help take care of it.
You write the grant?
We take care of all the grant work.
We actually have a component of the company that does grant writing, federal and state, that does everything, gets your information, gets your data, and then submits it for.
You have a
follows it
grants
up.
team at
Yes.
Verity, good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can do Title I.
I probably could still do that.
Sorry, Mr. Johnson
I could probably
had
still
another, I think
do
Mr.
it.
Johnson had a question.
On there, you were showing where it might be at East Lawn and Northview and all these other schools. Who did that?
We did that.
That's the whole story.
For free?
Correct.
Yeah, no cost.
They have computer programs to make it. We essentially, okay.
No walkaway fee.
I didn't know if that was that part or not.
So there is one more thing that I think
Sure.
is another aspect of it for the board to consider as a possible additional support to this. So we wanted to present this as if we had no additional funds to contribute. So an option of how to pay for this as a part of a service contract. But I have put in for a grant, so they came out, the federal government came out with the Renew American Schools grant. And so it's a very competitive national grant, but it would provide us with the funding that would actually pay for all of this upfront, and we wouldn't have to do the service agreement. But like I said, we didn't want to start with that because it is very competitive. We're putting our name in the hat. I wrote the concept paper and some of the grant writers, I worked with Gordon to have them kind of look it over and put some of this information in, and we submitted it. So the next step is to find out if they're going to allow us to write for the grant. And then we'll see if we can get this project funded. So we're going to continue to try to get additional grant funding to support this project and pay it off. But we do have an opportunity a way that's affordable for our district to pay for it if we can't get outside funding.
So we could pay for it ourselves. We're hopefully gonna be able to get. grant
Exactly.
funding, so.
Anytime we can get other entities and grants that can cover those, then that helps us be able to pay for other things.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Can the public speak?
All down till yes, not here. Okay,
Can we ask?
Mr. and
Dr. Woods.
folks who present, once you present, you do not have to stay. Mr. Majors,
They
you
have
have to
questions
stay.
already?
So,
They
All
had
right.
some questions.
we, if the board has questions, we can, have.
Oh, just the board.
Oh, yeah.
We don't speak.
All right, Mr. Brother.
We're going to go to number 9, Almond School Program.
Okay, come on up, Mr. Henderson. I told you 6:40. All right. All right. So as you, hopefully all board members, Mr. Henderson was here with us last month.
Yes.
There's a conversation on. And we had some initial discussion and proposal from Mr. Henderson about the alternative school programming. So the opportunity tonight is for discussion. There is an action item on the agenda, but we'll get into that. So to start, really, I didn't ask Mr. Henderson to prepare anything other than to see what types of follow-up questions you as the board might have, since I'm sure some of you got feedback and you may have some thoughts on it, Mr. Henderson. And then we'll talk about the action item after that. So any questions? Is there anything you want to talk about with Mr. Henderson and I about this proposal that was shared at the last meeting? There has to be something.
Yeah, I have one at least. You said that you're trying to keep everything to where it's normal for these kids. I don't see no normalcy there. I don't see moving kids 3 miles outside Rantoul in a fenced-in area right next to an airport is beneficial to kids that are already having problems.
So, Mr. Johnson, we've had no public discussion about a location.
Okay, my bad, I'm sorry, I apologize on that. Let's not talk about the location. Let's talk about the number of kids. Let's talk about the ratio between black, white, Hispanic, other, male to female. These are questions that's coming from the public, and they're wanting to know these questions.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing that we're looking at here that, you know, we're talking about cost. We're talking about cost of hiring 12 more teachers. We mentioned that, right?
That's not you're not discussing, there's no proposal to hire 12 teachers.
Okay. Well, I thought you had mentioned that possibility of wanting to hire 12 teachers.
Not teachers.
For this program, or 12.
Well, and what is on for tonight is the discussion of an administrator, 3 teachers, 3 teaching assistants, a social work intern, a secretary, and a half-time custodian. Some of those teachers and teaching assistants would be reassigned, or potentially social worker would be reassigned from within the district. So they're not necessarily added positions.
Okay.
Jobs.
Anyways, I want
12 jobs.
Ask if possible, please.
So the first question you had about ratios and demographics, who's gonna be in the school? This is a need-based school. It's also a school that's based on the want of students to go there. So I can't give you specific numbers of who's gonna be there. If we look at what we have right now, so I think we need to back up, and we already have an alternative programming within our school district right now. And currently that exists of a room, right?
Yeah, very small room.
A very small room where we put our kids that are exhibiting specific behaviors, right? So when we're talking about the ratio of moving kids out to a different space, what I'm talking about is giving them resources that they don't have right now. So I'm talking about putting more effort, support into our kids that are currently exhibiting challenging behaviors within the school environment, and not just putting them into a room. So I'd like to clarify that first. The second thing, talking about ratios and demographics, there's not anybody assigned to that school right now. If you look at historically who would be assigned to that school, in that packet I gave you, there are specific triggers that I had listed out of what would get you possibly assigned to a school. Part of that is an actual stakeholder meeting, right? Where we're gonna sit down and talk to every single stakeholder and have that meeting about, is this the best fit for that student? That includes the administrator, the parent, the student, the administrator of the Bulldog Rise program, as well as we have other, I guess, specialists within the districts that we would want to sit on that committee to make those determinations. So it's not a if you do this, then this, right? It's not a if this, then this, but there is going to be a process for entrance into the program that is taken very seriously, and that we make sure that we do with fidelity. Because like I said before, we're not gonna have a warehouse for Black and brown children. That is not my goal, and that is not something that I would want to see happen. If you look at our Bulldog Academy right now, it is all Black children. Right now, currently.
Exactly.
It is all Black. It is all Black children right now. I think that these children would be better served in a different location. They would also have more access to things that they need in their daily schedule. So this is actually a remedy to what we already have.
Okay, is there a reason why that can't happen here? And
Absolutely, yeah, there is a reason. There's lots of reasons. One is, so I know that Rantoul has had an alternative school before. And I know that that school was sometimes seen as just like a place to funnel kids to. This is not the same idea. This alternative school is not a school just for, just to put kids in a different location. This is truly a different concept on how to teach our kids, how to give our kids the needs or meet our kids' needs where they're at, and how to embed educational initiatives into the learning. So I want to start with, this alternative school is not a traditional like behavioral disorder alternative school. This is a new environment and a new opportunity for kids who might not learn the same way as other kids, kids who struggle with different aspects of trauma, of academic success, haven't had a lot of academic success. This is a chance for them to start over in a new environment and get that. So as I said last time, part of my background is in alternative education. And I can tell you from experience firsthand, 90% of the kids that went to that alternative school would have told you that that was the best choice that they had made in their life, or that was the best thing that ever had happened to them. I have, many students who I still conversate with who talks about that being the best time of their life. So this is not a punishment. This is a new experience, a new start for a lot of our kids. And what it should be is a place where they want to go, where kids want to be on a daily basis. So
is this a decision solely off the school, or you mentioned parents, or is it parent refuses to want to do this? Do they have the option to opt out and us not make a decision and say, no, that's where the kid's gonna go, and the parent don't have no say so?
That would be up to the board. But what I could say is that there will be situations where there's been some tough situations in front of the board recently where we've had to put kids up for expulsion, and this would be an alternative to that, right? So this would be something that instead of putting a kid up for expulsion, here's an option. Because for some of our kids, for some of it, it's nothing because we have nothing to offer them, or it's you're at home, you're expelled because we can't send them to Ready either.
So one thing I heard, actually, Mr. Johnson, you said it in your public comment repeatedly, was the need to do something different. And as we said last week, this is something different. And we're looking to provide a different opportunity for students. We also, in the proposal, there is a track for students to request to go to this school and for parents to request to go to that school. I don't think that's going to happen right away, but if what Mr. Henderson wants to do becomes what he envisions, we will have kids requesting to go there. And like you said, the students recently who were, the board is going to have to make decisions on for expulsions. They might not be expulsion cases because we would have an alternative option to offer to the family. And we don't have that now. So if what you want is to continue to do the same thing and keep the kids in the same school doing the same thing, then don't vote for an alternative program. Did I say something?
I had a question.
Just
Because you dealt with alternative programs before.
Mhm.
And you said that you had successful kids. So what do you base the success of a kid on? Is it academics or, do they learn a trade or is it total,
That's a hard question for every school in America, right? What do you base a child's success on? For me personally, each child's success is individual, based on what they came to me with, the growth they've made, the progress they've made, and what they were able to take and do with that. So academically successful, this was a high school, so we had graduation rates. We upped our graduation rate. And these were considered at-risk children at the time who were on track to not graduate. So they graduated from high school. That was a success for them. But I think more of the success was the human beings they became, the character development they had. They are now in their 20s and their families, just seeing who they became as people. And these were people that, this was a high school setting, but we had 8th graders in there that were written off. One was a pregnant teen, was written off. You're not going to make it because you're pregnant. But being able to have this alternative education in a smaller setting, and we had resources to be able to help with the outside things, allowed her to be successful, and she is now doing well. So each success is individual, as it should be with all of our kids in all of our schools, no matter what setting. What success means to you or your kid, and your kid might not be the same as it means to my kid, but the success is still measurable. That it's not going to be a specific metric, and it wasn't a specific metric, but I can tell you specifically, we did increase 2 things: the attendance rate of those students from prior and the graduation rates of those kids.
Well, one of the concerns of one of the parents that was talking to me about this was, and the reason they brought up the racial male to female.
Mm-hmm.
You got 60 kids, number you guys came up with last month. 57 of them are males, 3 of them are girls. That's not normal. But like you said, these aren't normal kids, right? These are the kids that you figure might not graduate high school. These are kids that might end up in prison or something else, right?
I didn't say any of those things. I said these are kids that would benefit from a non-traditional school.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But I'm just asking, what about that? What
The ratio, so again, the process should be there. There should be no reason that we're over-identifying kids for this program, that the behavioral interventions and academic interventions even haven't been exhausted at the school level. Meaning you've tried everything you can here.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you get to this process, you will have documented and tried each intervention at your school level.
The other thing I want to point out too, we're talking about a substantially larger support staff per pupil than what we currently have at the junior high. So we're social work intern. We also know there's likely an outside therapeutic service provider that we have grant funded, working with a small number of students, right? Okay.
That, to talk about that, I totally understand where that comes off as saying that's too much money, there's a lot of cost in it. Our kids need support, and we've seen that. We need support right now at Ader. It's a true story. We need as much support as we can get. The reason why we talked about the 60 kids and the 3 teachers, that's about the 20 kid class size, but we're not talking about 20 kids who are used to sitting and doing and following directions. We're talking about 20 kids who have shown a pattern of maybe it's, let's not even say aggressive or disruptive behavior, but even shutdown behaviors where students aren't intellectually engaging and they want to come to the school. That's been their pattern for them to want to come here. So they need something different. They need more support. They need more one-on-one. They need the ability to take breaks. They're going to need frequent breaks is always something that we put into a lot of IEPs and 504s, because those breaks help kids reset. When you don't have the staffing to do that, you get an unsafe environment. So when we're thinking about, the safety of our students in some of our most challenging students right now are some of our most disruptive students or some of our most disengaged students, we have to be thinking about how can we give them that support that they need. There's a student that comes to the office every day, and I wish I could spend more time with them. But there's only one of me, and there's so many people. If I sat down and worked with him every day, he would get all of his work done. He needs one-on-one support. We have so many kids that need that support in our school system, but they cannot get it because we don't have the resources to get it. So when I'm asking for this, it's because I know these kids are gonna need that support. They're gonna be the kids that need somebody to push them, to keep pushing them. They're gonna be the kids that need to take a break. They need to walk with someone, talk about when they first get to school, talk about what happened last night, right? And a lot of our teachers would love to do it, but they can't leave the other 20 kids in their classroom, right? To work on that one kid. Having the resources and the staffing resources is the most important part of the school. I don't care if the school is in somebody's backyard in a tent. If we have the people there that can run the school, that is where we're gonna see the impact on these kids. We need the human resources to be able to effectively manage students and get them to grow and get them to understand. A restorative circle can take an hour, right? If I'm doing a restorative circle with 2 individuals, that can take an hour. It needs to happen right now. I need this staff member to take these 2 kids and have a restorative circle while I continue teaching my class.
Exactly. And that was, you answered one of my questions without me even asking. We don't have enough staffing. We don't have enough support. We don't have enough supervision.
I agree. I agree with all that.
And that's why we're still having our problems. But you're saying with this school, that support's gonna be there.
Yes, with having that number of students, this number of staff members, I believe that we can effectively provide adequate staffing and support, yes. Because like you said, that's more
This staffing
ratio.
is not for 60 kids. This staffing is probably 30 to 40 kids. If we go to 60, we would have to come back to the board about adding positions. But we've talked realistically in the first year, we won't get to 60, and and the other benefit we have is if we set the number, so let's say it's 40, we can stop. We don't have to put more kids in. So we're not gonna go over whatever threshold we set. I had 2 questions. I want to just clarify again, publicly, are we placing special education students here?
No.
Okay. The next question is, I want to give an example to the board. You and I have had this conversation. So let's say you have a big old fight at this program, because you will.
Maybe not.
Well, yeah, I should say, we hope not. Yes, I was being sarcastic. So let's say you have a big old fight at school.
Yeah.
How is what you're gonna do different from what you do now at Ader?
So part of the mission currently of this school that's being proposed is to, I made sure to put in it that we only suspend if there's a great threat to student or staff safety, right? So it has to be a continued threat, right? So if the fight is over and everybody is done, I expect those kids to be at school the next day. Now, how we manage those kids is going to be where the difference lies. So once we have, debriefed the situation and everything, we've contacted parents, told them what happened and everything. We're going to need staff members to be able to have reset rooms. In a reset room, what that's gonna do is allow whoever was involved to work individually with someone to be, because usually most fights aren't brawls, like 6, 7 people, I think the most we've had at one time has been like 4, something like that. So they're not like huge brawls with 12 people sides on each one. But we're gonna have to have staff members work individually to reset those students, doing reflection questions, working through restorative questions like, what happened, how are you feeling at the time, how do we repair the harm? So while they're doing that, they're gonna be separated from the general milieu. And the importance of this school and the school being somewhere people wanna go is because it has to be, I don't want to be here. I wanna be out there doing those classes that I've started to love, working in the music studio that's been created, all ideas, like doing the things that I come to school to do every day, cooking the food. Those are the things that I want to do. I don't want to be in this room. So they're gonna be working through restorative practices inside that room. And then before they can reenter the general education environment, they're gonna have to repair the harm between those two parties. That is just one way that we can manage behaviors, but we have to also remember that preventative is best. We're talking about reactive things, but preventative is best. And a lot of this school is preventative measures. You're gonna be able to separate people and see issues ahead of time. It's a smaller population. You know, there's 526 kids, I believe, right now at Ader. It's hard to see who's gonna have a problem on any given day, correct? So you've got 60 kids, you're gonna see you're gonna be able to see that ahead of time. You've got 10, 15 kids per class. If you got 30 or 40 kids, you're gonna be able to see when there's issues, and you're gonna be able to repair that harm. Focusing on social emotional learning within the program is also gonna allow us to address issues right when they come up, so they don't boil over to bigger issues. Also, what I've found is there's a lot less motivation for some kids to exhibit those behaviors when they are not in front of all of their peers. There's a lot less motivation for that. So just being in a different environment, having pride in that environment, the motivation subsides, right? And we know in middle school, especially developmentally, a lot of what they do is for the peer aggrandizement or the peer feedback, right? When that is removed, we see a lot of those behaviors removed as well. And, you know, I'm not afraid to, you know, try this and fail, because there's not my peers that I'm working through trying to impress all the time. So there's just in having a separate environment, you see a difference in behavior. And I can see that, and I can say that from experience. Working in high school, we had, you know, kids that were fighting every day over in the high school who never had a fight when they came over to the alternative school. It was no longer, they didn't feel like they were walking into an environment where they were triggered, where their fight or flight brain was going into fight every time they walked in. That allowed them to truly settle in and learn. And that's what separating the environment does as well. You know, sometimes when you walk into 500 people, your trauma brain kicks on and you go right into fight mode as soon as you get in there, because there's a lot of triggering things, sensory things that are triggering, events that may have happened over the weekend that are triggering. I would say a lot of our issues are happen over the weekend or community, and then they come into the school. That's how a lot of our issues start. A lot of group messages. So parents, if you're watching this, please monitor your group messages. So when that happens, but I'm not going to the same building as you, that gives time for that to cool off. It doesn't happen to be a fight in school. And now my brain has had time to adjust, get out of fight or flight, and now I can resolve that issue with you, because we haven't been put into the same environment just one night after we've gotten into it.
So just to recap, much briefer. You answered like I would answer, very long. But what I heard right at the beginning was, your plan is those kids, as long as they're safe, they're at school the next day.
Yes.
Okay. And then all of those other things you were talking about have to happen. Okay.
One of the things too about this program behaviorally is behavioral decisions we made as a team. So staff members will work together to make those decisions, because it's going to take place within the school environment. Obviously, an administrator has to make suspension decisions, but when we're doing things inside the school environment, every staff member can have a say on how we should respond to this. You know, and I believe whenever you have a team making decisions, you're going to have more input, better decisions being made.
Well, I just want, on the record, I just want you to know that I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't want you to think that I was trying to just disregard the alternate school. I was just looking more into different things that I've been being asked by different people. And when I said that we need change, I don't only mean in our school system. I don't only mean in all the schools. I mean right here. Right at this table. That's what I meant.
Me too.
You know, because it starts right here. And we have to make good decisions so you can make good decisions, and so you can help the kids get what they actually need. And after listening to you talk and hearing what you said, I agree with a lot of what you said. I just was looking at what you said last month compared to this month, that you know you want to keep everybody, or at least make the kids feel that everything's the same as going to regular school. I mean, there's gotta be something. There's gotta be the breaking point. Of course, you wanna separate some of the kids to where some of the kids that are actually gonna learn or try to learn. There's some of the kids that are gonna be disrupted and somehow, for whatever reason, doesn't feel that they need it.
Absolutely, and every school needs oversight, so I would love for a board member, if this passes, to adopt this school, and whether that be you, that'd be awesome, to give some oversight to this school. There's nothing wrong with being asked tough questions, and there's nothing wrong with pushing back on ideas, because that's how better ideas are made. I'd like to throw that out there to you.
All right, I asked a lot of questions. Mr. Johnson did too. No, you didn't. I asked more than you.
I just want to address, there's a reason that we're not ignoring you. It just has to be during public comments. That's just, and it's not just our board that does that. It's.
So there'll be a time for a public comment on this situation here? On what he's talking about?
Cover it.
Is there going to be?
During the public speaks, then they go into the real in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
So then you have to keep your mouth shut.
Come back next time.
Yeah.
Next month, after they've already decided that they're gonna do this?
I was gonna say, after the meeting, we were glad to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, I was just,
Oh,
I was just gonna
privately.
add on to like what he was talking about.
But to have, as Nikki said, there are certain things that we have to do as a board. I know this doesn't seem comfortable, but these are things that have to be done. Because this is a board meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm just sitting here. I just sat here.
Glad to talk to anybody after the meeting. I know that's waiting, but, we have to consider everybody here too.
But I'm just asking, you're gonna make a vote, right, on what he's coming up with, what he's proposing? You're voting on that?
Not about building anything like that. All we're doing, basically, if I could speak for you, Maureen. Basically, what we're doing tonight is hoping to get some people hired. We're not talking about building, we're not talking, we've discussed those things, but we haven't come to any consensus. We haven't got the final information yet. We have a lot of things in the fire right now. What we're gonna talk about tonight is giving authorization to hire a few people. If this does not meet muster, those people will be integrated into our school. We lose people, as you talked about. We have to fill split positions at East Lawn and Pleasant Acres and Northview. That's what this is can come down to. So that's all we're doing tonight.
And so for the board.
We're making no big decisions. No, we need a lot more input.
We've got to get the ball rolling on staffing now because it's hiring season. And as I've discussed with some of you, we need to get those pieces in place so that any person being hired as a teacher or a teaching assistant, they're being hired into the district. Okay, they're not being hired. Your report says it's Northview, 5th grade. They can get moved. Okay, so what we're talking about is I need to know from the board, are we good with at least starting to map out the staffing? You will still vote at the next meeting. If we have hires by March, that would be awesome. And you would, as we get those people in, we would start to staff. At the same time, we've been having conversations about location and some of the logistics, right? And that's a separate question that has to take place in closed session for now. Because as we said, the reason for closed session was for property lease or sale, and it has to do with negotiations. Nothing happens unless the board votes in open session. Okay. Did anyone, board members, have questions for Mr. Henderson?
I got a question.
Window, we just can't wait till after the meeting?
Yes.
Mr. Brotherton?
Yes.
I understand what you are saying, but for this, the public we can't allow the board to make a decision on something this critical without us having the input that we need to have for this. And I don't want to get all the way into it but you're talking about hiring. So if this doesn't work out, you're saying you put those into general. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a strong possibility, yes.
Right.
But we, as Dr. Wood just said, we have to prepare ourselves. This is a hiring season right now.
I understand that.
And I don't want to be, and I believe I can speak for the rest of the board, we cannot not do what we need to do to get ready for the next school year. But we're also talking and thinking still about this. We made no decision. We've made no decision about, this may not come to fruition at all. But we need to get more information before we present it to you and give you guys a chance to respond. But it's like, we haven't got all the information. So how, and.
My question or comment was in a whole different realm. A lot more comfortable for everybody. I just wanted to agree with Mr. Henderson because he's finally speaking our language. I think with all the issues that were brought up at the beginning of the meeting and, what do we do? How do we take care of these problems? The things he was saying is the language we want to hear. Problem or question is how do we integrate that into our schools? Like that's what the environment that he's talking about is what we want our schools to be like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Why does it have to be a whole nother place?
Right, where they feel like they're going to prison, where they feel like they're getting kicked out.
He's saying that, they're gonna wanna go to school there. Like, that's how our children should feel about their schools here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, next year, we're talking about putting school.
I don't.
His bills.
As a reminder to the board, there was lengthy presentation at the last board meeting, sharing information about this. There was discussion. This item was placed on the agenda as required and gives the opportunity for the public to comment during public comments and ask questions at that time.
And it's all televised, and so, and that's one reason we do this, because we want the community to know what's going on. We want to be transparent. Now, can we make this? Yes, but we want you to see what we're trying to do. But we have to look at all the areas. We just can't look at, one particular thing. We have to look at a lot of different things, like the solar thing. I mean, there's a lot to look at and think about. My first is, I don't want to spend the money. That's my personal view, but yet we have to get roofs. I'd much rather have the money spent someplace else, but we have that money in certain funds, and it has to be used that way. So let's do the best, get all the information, and let's do the best possible way for the community. Save the most money and what's best. That's what I think we're all here for.
Any other questions for Mr. Henderson?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
So
much.
the motion on the table is really you just as a board, we probably don't need to vote, but I'm going to ask you to vote, which is I'm looking for essentially consensus on, we could call this phase one, I guess, which is we need to start making some moves in staffing. Part of what I have to start to put in place is for instance, I don't think it's a secret who I would probably hire as the administrator. I need to make that move so that we would be able to post that administrative position just the same way as we have some teachers and support staff that are likely interested in moving into these positions now. We need to be able to make those hires so that vacancies that might be created by them at ADER particularly could be filled with other postings. That's really what I'm looking for from the board, is to approve me to go forward with staffing for next year on this program as it's written there. So this is the motion to approve the item as presented.
Would like to make the motion.
I make the motion to approve item.
Thank you. Any second?
I second.
Okay.
Yoder Johnson.
Yeah.
Which is what's up on there, I say aye.
Katie Johnston. Aye. Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
All right.
Number 10.
And just so the public's aware on this next item, number 10, this is an item that has to be discussed in closed session because it's a personnel item. And then the board is asked to vote in open session. So
All we have to do is motion. Okay, motion to adopt resolution to dismiss and to authorize dismissal and charges to Maureen Nell. Motion.
I second it.
Thank you. Nikki seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Yes, Moto Johnson,
Sustain.
Katie Johnston. Aye. Sorry, hold on one second. Diana Mendoza. Aye. Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson
Abstain?
and John Brotherton.
Aye. Number 12, action waiver of school code application.
Nope. Number
Oh, I got a read motion here.
We're on number 11.
Oh, number 11, excuse me. Get ahead of myself. Action appeal pursuant to uniform grievance procedure.
Okay.
Do I read all this or not?
I will
Okay.
start it. And just so the public knows, again, this is an item that has to be discussed in closed session and voted on in open. So employee A has appealed to the board the superintendent's decision related to employee B pursuant to the complaint made by employee A on January 20th, 2023. The board is asked to either uphold or overturn the superintendent's decision. What's on the screen is the motion, there's three options: uphold, overturn, or modify.
I'll make the motion to uphold the superintendent's decision related to the January 2023 complaint under the uniform grievance procedure.
We have a second.
I second it.
Joe seconds it.
Moto Johnson,
Abstain.
Katie Johnston. Aye. Diana Mendoza. Aye. Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye. Now we can move. Thank you. Nikki, thank you. To number 12, action waiver of school code applications.
All right, this is take two. The board previously approved this item at the December meeting, but documentation was not timely filed with ISB due to winter break, and I take responsibility for that. That means we have to reauthorize this item, so it had to be submitted to ISB within 20 calendar days, and the day we came back from winter break was 21. Okay. If ISB and the General Assembly approve the requested waiver, the district will revise the 23-24 school calendar. At this time, the district does not anticipate that this will change the beginning and end of the 23-24 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for waiver of school code as presented.
I'll second.
Moto Johnson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza. Aye. Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
It does not look good when I have to have two revotes in a row, but here is number 2 revote. At the January meeting, revisions to press, which is our board policy manual, 6:220 were approved by the board. However, RCS has not previously approved the full 6:2020 policy. It is not in our interest to approve the full policy, 6:2020, because of possible negative impacts on our network, and it is not needed for instructional purposes. Now the board is asked to remove policy 6:2220, excuse me. So let me clarify. We approved in the big list of board policy changes. The board approved a change to a policy that we don't actually have. Which the policy is a policy governing students' ability to bring their own computers and iPads in school, and we don't want that. So I don't. All right. I don't think.
No other questions? Okay. Motion to remove board policy 6220 from board policy manual. Second, thank you.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Diana.
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 You, I didn't hear you.
Sorry. Please say your name.
Moto Johnson,
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Joe Robinson,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson,
Aye.
John Brother.
Aye. 14, action, 2023-24 compensation.
Okay, so this is an annual thing. I'm much more organized this year on it. So the board is asked to approve compensation increases for all employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. Those are collective bargaining agreement, those are employees in the unions or employees on individual contracts for the 23-24 school year. Unless noted, employees will receive a minimum 4% increase consistent with employees covered by a collective bargaining agreement. Employees who qualify for the district's retirement incentive may see a 6% increase. Also included are increases in the rates for substitute employees. These substitute rate changes will go into effect for the 23-24 school year. So in your packet is the sheet of it's secretaries, clericals, it's all the people not in the union. It is past practice that when the district can, we match what the CBAs have negotiated for those other employees.
Any questions? Tyler, looked like you got something to say.
I'll make the motion to approve the item as presented.
Okay, you said something.
I second it.
Tyler made the motion and
Moto
Nikki,
Johnson,
second.
Aye.
Katie Johnston.
Aye.
Diana Mendoza.
Aye.
Nikki Pettit,
Aye.
Joe Robinson,
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brotherton.
Aye.
Okay.
15, action, transfer of cash assets. Oh my goodness.
All right, this is a fun one. It's not fun. Given the current high interest rates, the board is asked to authorize the investment of $5 million currently held in cash to higher interest earning accounts. The district will work with PMA Financial to determine investments. We anticipate investing $2 million into 8 CDs, certificates of deposit, and $3 million into money market accounts with the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund. Investments made from a particular school district fund will receive the revenues earned into that same fund. For example, the district may invest $2 million from the education fund into CDs. All revenue earned from those CDs funded by that education fund would be deposited back into the education fund. One thing to clarify, our board policy allows the CIO, the chief business officer of the district, to do this already. So our policy allows this to happen. We felt that it was something we wanted to make sure we bring to the board, so there's no perception of us doing something we shouldn't do, but it is already approved in the policy. So ultimately what you're voting on though is the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund requires a resolution to be passed. So that is the vote you're taking, and it's kind of all together. So any questions on that? And I did send an email to the board about that this week, so hopefully you had a chance to read that.
Any questions, concerns?
This is the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund is used by other
Yes.
schools.
We have used it. I should have added that. So we've used it in the past. We currently have $8 with them. I think it was $8. So we don't know why there's $8 still in there, but it was last approved by the board, a similar resolution in 2016. So we have not been investing. It doesn't appear from what we can find that we've been investing since 2016. And that makes sense, knowing what was going on with the state budget at that time. So
I'm assuming it's like insured, there's no risk to us. My background's banking, so.
right, so that's why the CD, I don't have this in here, but we cannot put in more than $250,000 into any one bank for CDs. Those are FDIC covered. The money market accounts are the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund. My understanding is that they have, what is it called? They basically have collateral held against it. Yeah, I heard there's an official term for it. Ultimately, I suppose there is a risk with any investing, but there's also a risk with us keeping the amount of money we have right now in a checking account.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I mean, if we lose interest, that's kind of what it is, but like, I just mean like the 2 or 3 million,
Yes.
dollars.
It's, we're not like investing in Tesla or
Okay.
something like that, no, so. It's a money market fund, right?
Okay,
So it's just, yep.
Just wanted to.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution authorizing participation in the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund Plus. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Diane.
Moto Johnson.
Aye.
Katie Johnston. Diana Mendoza. Nikki Pettit.
Aye.
Joe Robinson.
Aye.
Tyler Wilson.
Aye.
John Brothers.
Aye. Thank you. 16, discussion filling board vacancy.
All right, so after, I had a conversation with the regional superintendent, Gary Lewis, about this. So in April, we're gonna have the election, which we have 3 four-year seats to be filled in that election, and we have 3 candidates for that. So what that means is we know who the next 3 board members are gonna be. And they're in the room right now, sitting at the table. However, we will still have 1 unfilled 2-year term, which technically, if you think back, was Mitch Wilson's seat, which was then filled by Diana, but now Diana is on the ballot for a 4-year seat, a different seat. So we have to, the board has to appoint someone for that 2-year seat when the time comes. So here, what I gathered was this: we can wait until the new board is seated in April, and then we would have 6 board members once the new board is seated, and then go through the process of people like we did for the other 2 recent appointed seats. Or the board can tell me we should go ahead and get started on it now, because 6 of the 7 people are right here, right now, would be voting to select the 7th member. You would not, the board we would start the process. The board would not appoint and seat that 7th member until after the board is seated in April. So it's just getting it so we have a 7th member ready to start as soon as the new board is seated after the election. So we can wait, but we have 6, we would only have 6 board members, and it could go on for up to 2 months. Or we can start the process now to be able to fill either late April or early May, or during May, I should say.
I think it's smart to start.
Start the process now.
Right? You don't get to have an opinion, Joe.
Yes, he does.
I mean, technically does, so, all right.
Start now.
So, yeah, I mean, it's ultimately the board has to vote, and it would not be, and that seat does not become vacant until the new board is seated, right? Okay, so once that new board's seated, you could then seat the 7th members. Okay, so it sounds like, is there any strong opposition to this? Any opposition at all, I guess? So what that means, we'll talk about it in open session here, is that I would put out the messaging like I did for the other 2 seats to make sure people know publicly that it's available. And then we would set a deadline. And when I say we, I last time around worked with the board president on that. And then we'd set up a time to do interviews. What is different now, because I talked about this a couple months ago, is I do now have a board member orientation packet that is done. So we could have a public meeting, not a board meeting, but a public meeting, where any of those candidates that are interested in being on it could come in, and we could have that conversation as a group. And we also talked about having at least 1 current board member be part of that conversation. Okay. Last time around, it looked different. I had feedback from the board was that you wanted to do something more like that. But are folks fine with that? Ultimately, it's your decision. It is definitely your decision. Okay. Probably March. I'll start putting that information out. And I'll let the board know through email when we're gonna start pushing that information out publicly. Okay?
That sound okay?
All right.
Number 17, information items. Ooh, FOIA request. What we
We
got
have
here?
one requesting teacher salary and directory information, which is already publicly posted on the website. So that was an easy one. We had a really nice article on the 21st regarding the Little Family, the Little Families donation to RCS and their ongoing support for literacy in the district. In the board's packet is the student discipline report. As a reminder, student discipline information is confidential, but the board is able to see all discipline incidents in full detail regarding in-school suspension, care, and OSS. And a reminder to the board that if a parent does have a concern about an exclusionary discipline, such as an out-of-school suspension, there is an appeal process that is available to parents if they disagree with the school's decision. The last thing on the information items is hopefully next Friday, we'll see some of you there, if not all of you. But it's now the second annual, so I'm kind of excited. African American History Month Committee would like to formally invite the school board and members of the public to attend the district's African American History Celebration on Friday, February 24th from 5 to 7. We will be inviting the community to come and celebrate some of the diversity that makes Rantoul an amazing place to live and learn. There is a flyer. We've been publicizing it. A cool event. Dr. Spahn, who is, he used to be an education professor. Now he's a high up. He's going to be the keynote speaker. We have some student groups that are going to be performing. There's a Aider Step team and there's a Rantoul Community Baton group, I believe, that are going to perform. And lots of free food, which is a highlight for me.
And this will be in the gym?
It'll be in the gym and the Aider cafeteria, yeah. They usually also have it in the annex area, so it's kind of that whole area. That is it for me.
You want to talk about that revised budget?
No, I didn't put that on the information item. Thank you. It is in the, thank you. No, the tentative revised budget, we do normally do a budget revision at the end of the fiscal year. Chris Johnson, our Director of Finance, I agree with her, and so does Jenny and Allison, is that we need to do more frequent budget updates so that our accounting is more accurate as we go through the year. So in order to do that, we have to post the tentative revised budget 30 days in advance of the March meeting. So I'm letting you know that's going to be posted soon. It gets, there's a blurb that goes in the newspaper. We post it on the website. And we keep a hard copy in the district office that no one ever comes in to look at. So that almost was a challenge to one of you out there. So I'm kidding. So we'll have a hearing at the March meeting, like we do at the very beginning, and ask to approve that revised budget. Okay, thank you for reminding me of that.
Board and superintendent comments. Do you have any comments, Mr. Superintendent?
No, I did want to note as a reminder that it is in public record, our personnel reports. So there were a few comments made tonight about, I wrote down one of them, that staff are leaving and we don't know anything about it. So any staff member who resigns or is hired or is transferred, that is in the personnel report. Board members see it in advance of the meeting. For confidentiality reasons, we don't make it public until after the meeting, but that is public information. Okay, that was my only comment.
Board. I have a comment. First of all, I want to apologize to Mr. Johnson for interrupting you during your public comments. The other thing is that I understand the frustration that these parents are facing with the bullying and the things that are going on in the schools. I think that the social equity working group is a really good source and something for parents to attend to network and to also kind of brainstorm on solutions for the school. What I like to say is that, we hear a lot of complaints, and I apologize, I feel bad for the kids that, are being bullied, and the woman that said her son was attacked. I'm sorry to hear that. But on the other hand, we're only 7 people up here. We need your opinions and your solutions. We can't do it on our own. We need your help, to come up with some solutions. Complaints are easy, but, what about solutions? And what about recommendations on things that, can be done? Our parents getting together at the school levels, and talking to the administration at the school. So there's a disconnect, we say there's a disconnect with the board. Our community needs to come together too and talk about things that, we can do, work together. That's all I got to say.
I have something to say. I feel like there is disconnect isn't the right word, but it's, you say one thing, but then the actions are another. You say that you want the school board to make sure that their children are in the district, but at the same time, somebody in the community is saying, thank goodness my parents got me out of the school system in Manitoul because it sucks. So I don't understand.
Well, to clarify that part, she was talking about me, and I did not remove her from Rancho City Schools, and I was gonna correct her when I left here. That was my daughter.
Oh, okay.
I knew I met her. And she did not go to Rancho Township High School but for 2 years. And I removed her for my reasons as a parent, because I thought it was more beneficial for mine, just like some of the other people removes their kids for whatever reason.
Right.
So that's that part of it.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Robinson, thank you for apologizing. And you're right. It's not only the board. You're exactly right. We have administrators, we have teachers, we have people and I definitely know there's a person back there that does her utmost best to make sure the safety and the things for these kids are right. So when I'm saying that, I'm not trying to finger point the whole group as one. I'm just saying, in reality, if we don't do better as board members, and we're sitting there being puppets on a string, then we're nothing. We're not doing our job being voted in. We were voted in. And and you basically just said it, Dr. Woods. These 3 aren't running for office to be voted in, they're already in. And then we gotta appoint someone. There's nobody that I know that wants to run for Rantoul City School Board no more. And I know you've said, well, you're gonna go back and you're gonna look at some of the past people that was trying to get in on being appointed in. They're discouraged. They're discouraged with what's happening, not only to our schools, but to our board. I don't know if anybody else sees that, but you have to look at it.
I think Nikki was still.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that is what that was double-sided. And then I also felt like the people making the comments expected us to know everything that was going on in the community, simply because we're on the board. And I know that I try to know as much as I possibly can. I know how much I'm in the schools. I know how much I talk to my children's teachers. And I also know that my phone number is on, I believe it's listed on the website, is it not?
I can look. Can I ask you a question real quick?
Hang on just a second. And I know that I haven't gotten any phone calls, and I know how open I am to receiving and talking to people. That's the one thing I said. I said, my one thing is music, and I can relate to anyone about anything. That was one of my things in my campaign. And I know that I've not received any phone calls or an email even if my phone number isn't listed. I've not received an email about anything going on. A lot of the things that people were complaining about, which is upsetting to me because I know the kind of person that I am. If there's a problem, I will advocate for someone because, again, as a platform that I ran on, I used to work in a program called SOAR here at Ader, and that was my job, and I believe in that. When the teachers don't know how to talk to the students, or the teachers don't know how to talk to the parents, they need a focal point. I was that focal point when I worked here. I believe that's part of my job here as a board, being that focal point for the community, to the superintendent, from the community to the teachers, from the teachers to the community, all of it. But I haven't received any type of email or anything like that. They said teachers don't trust us. I'm unaware of that because whenever I go into any of the schools, the teachers talk to me and they're not saying how they don't trust us at all. So I probably sound defensive right now because it bothers me, because I really do take this job, even though it's a volunteer job, I take this job seriously and I'm very passionate about it. And so it upsets me greatly when people say that we're not doing enough, because I know I'm doing everything that I can at all hours of the night trying to fix stuff. But you can't fix stuff overnight. And so it bothers me when people sit up here and complain and tell me what needs to be done, but then they don't do anything about it. I don't see them in committee meetings or anything like that. All they do is sit up here and tell me what needs to be done. That bothers me. So if anybody would like to talk to me about what I can do, I can tell you what I know that I'm doing behind. And also, just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that I'm not talking to people trying to get other things done. Stuff isn't done overnight. And so, again, I'm repeating myself because I'm upset, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And nothing happens overnight. I think I'm, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna say something real quick. I don't know exactly how many kids you have in school here, too. Two. I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 kids. Have you been to any of the parent teachers conferences?
Ever?
This year? I mean, for your 2 kids?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
You know, I have not been invited to one. Not one. And I signed up for them. Not one was I invited to.
Well, Mona, that surprises me because you seem to be like me and like, I need to talk to you.
I get that.
Okay.
I do that. I always have to do it in a different way because of who I am.
Yeah.
When I walk into a school, they don't look at me as a board member, they look at me as a problem. None of you other board members can walk in a school and they look at you as a problem or think that you're something that you're not. I'm not gonna sit there and boast about being a board member. All I'm saying is I'm a parent. I am a parent.
Yes.
And I deserve the respect as a parent to advocate and go in and find out where my kids stand.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm asking. I get teachers and administrators and people, well, you're still on the board? We thought they kicked you off. Well, not yet. You know, it's hard taking to sit there and voluntarily do something and get kicked in the teeth all the time. Sort of like what you just said about when people come in here and they're saying things and they don't know the whole story. That's true.
I agree.
We don't know. Or should I say the public don't know? I don't even know. I don't take it personally when they do that because they're told to do that. People are told to do that.
Told to do what?
To do whatever the way they act. A lot of people are told to do that. I'm just saying, that's just my opinion.
One more thing, sorry, about the children and you shouldn't be on the board if your children aren't in the thing. To me, that's like saying you can't say something about a child if you don't have children. You don't know their behavior. I don't know that I agree with that, simply because just because your children aren't in this school system, like you said, if there was a reason, or like they were saying, if there was a reason to take them out because they were being harmed or whatever, or they weren't getting what they needed from RCS, because there are things that we need to work on that we have not provided yet, then I understand why they would take their child out. And there's no stipulation, as far as I know, like on a village, like for the village, how you have to live in Rantoul to have different jobs at the village, correct? So I don't think that there's anything like that for the board, which is probably why there are people on the board who have children that aren't in the school district. But I do believe that they all started off in the school district and then something happened and that's why they were removed.
Okay, I have three things.
Yeah.
Kind of bouncing off what Nikki just said. When I joined the board, I didn't have children. I had been a foster parent. I saw their experiences being students here that were, and I wanted to find a way to advocate. I have my foster kids back. So I am a parent of 2 children in the district. So everyone has their motivations, and I think everyone up here has the best of intentions. Sometimes it's discouraging to hear that our intentions are not good, because I think we really are trying to make a difference for the youth in this community. I went through Rantoul schools all the way through. I went to the University of Illinois. I mean, I don't want to say it's possible, but there are successes, there are all sorts of things. We are trying to do what we're trying to do what we can.
Family is a success.
Exactly. So we're trying to do what we can. Please communicate with us. I think that we're all very open to it. I have one thing to say, and I'm not offended. There are 3 of us on the ballot. There are 4 seats. We all had to fill out paperwork just like everyone else. I understand that our seat is kind of a given, but we all had to fill out paperwork. It's not a given that we're going to get a seat just because we put our name in the hat. So I don't know if you intended it that way, but it kind of offended.
I didn't intend to offend any one of you 3.
I'm just
saying, from what people view,
and
they see 4 seats open.
Mm-hmm.
They're wondering why. Why do we only have 3 people interested, and 3 people that are interested are 3 people that's already here? There's no other person interested into doing it.
And my question is, why not? Why not?
Answer that.
I mean, it's a choice you have to make. I agonized over it a little bit. But I decided that it was worth it to me, to the children that we serve in this community, and to to what I'm trying to do. So that's what I have about that. I want to move on to something happy, and then I've said my piece. So I was checking my phone because I thought it was sooner than it is. Jessica Holmes has put on the Aider play. She's been doing it in conjunction with 2 of the great Aider teachers now. It's her last show. I thought it was in March, so I was going to announce it for March. It's a very early announcement. You're going to get it again. But April 21st and 22nd, there is a play at Aider. Come see it.
What's the name of the play?
The House on Pooh Corner. It's Winnie the Pooh.
Corner.
Diane.
So, when I started in the board, my kid is not a kid that attends RCS. But I just want to say this. I worked at RCS for 15 years. And everything I did and everything I continue to do is for the best for that community, because I love my community. That doesn't mean just because my child is not currently attending here, I'm not vested to these families. I still continue to bring programs where I'm working now to the community to help out, to see what's best for every single child here. And I've never received, I'm always out in the community because I do other things in the community to help out. Never a single person has come up to me and said that they have a problem or they have an issue. I have many people on social media. Anybody can message me at any time. I've gone to schools to do with my organization, and I've talked to everybody I talk to. Nobody has ever said anything to me. Staff, I go to the schools. I've done visits with Nikki. I go to, do my run to the schools, and the staff members have never, they've always welcomed me. So You know, just because of that doesn't mean that I do not care for these kids. I care for every single kid because I was in the schools. I saw what was happening. I saw it from the inside. So I know what you guys are talking about. It's not something that it's new. It's been an ongoing issue for years. And I always took my job as all our kids need love and attention. And I did that 100%. So, and like she said, I have to get signatures to be on the ballot. It just came to me. So the people in the community obviously wanted me here because, you know, it took work and effort to do it. So all I'm gonna say is, you know, like tonight, I'm still here, you know, and I have kids, but I do this because I love my community, and that's all I wanted to say. And if people wanna say something, nobody has ever said anything to me, so that's all I wanted to say tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have one thing, I'll make it short and quick. I enjoy parliamentary procedure. That is how meetings are ran. Mr. Wendell, you do have your hand up, I see that. In order for a meeting, not just a school board meeting, a village meeting, a park board, a rec board meeting, there is a procedure followed, and it's called parliamentary procedure. It goes way back to obviously Great Britain. To the parents, grandparents, whoever wanting to speak afterwards, it's not just us that we're not ignoring you. It is the way that the meeting has to be ran so that it can be civil and go through all the steps that we need to go to. Tonight, there was, what, 17, 18 with us right now. That is why we are not trying to ignore you. We're not trying to not take your questions. It's the way a meeting of a board, whether it's school board or
Church
junior
board.
church board, junior football board, that
Yeah.
is how they are ran. That is what the public comment is for at the beginning. I did it twice, 2 months in a row, and I had stuff that I talked about that didn't get answered, and I came back the next meeting. And I did it again, or something was said during the first meeting that I talked at, and I went to the second. That is, we're not trying to ignore you. It's just the way that a meeting is ran. That is what I have.
Anybody else on the board have any comments? Are you sure?
I really hate to say I have one thing to add. All right, I did want to remind the board that February 23rd,
Yes.
that's next Thursday, we do have another special meeting at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, just the
All right.
majority. Okay, I have something. I'll make this as short as I can make it. I'm senior person on this board, 16 years. In 16 years of being on this board, I've never, and we've had really good people, caring people, concerned people. I've never in 16 years heard the comments made by board members with such passion and such knowledge and such insight. Thank you. Thank you. This is in many ways a thankless job when we do it. And that's the positive thing. I have one thing that's maybe not quite as positive. Mr. Johnson, you and I went, and I'm asking you this now, just hear me. When we went to do the Christmas presentation, I did not, and again, I'm just trying to tell you how I'm seeing things. I can only talk through my lens, what I see. When we went to all the buildings in New England. Yes, we did.
I
heard nobody came up to me and said, oh, you brought that Johnson character with you. Nobody said anything like that. And you acted very positive toward everybody. You were not negative, were you?
No, sir.
You were
very positive.
I thought, and I knew you would be that way. It was like, oh, I'm dragging Moto here. Oh God, what's he gonna say? I had no qualms about that. So you say those things, and I'm not doubting what you're saying. I'm just saying, I see it differently. Okay.
I honestly wish that you can see it from my eyes. I come to volleyball games, I come to basketball games for my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. I can feel it.
Well,
But,
have you addressed those
that day.
Have you addressed those people? Tell them, because again, we can't.
I didn't come in as a board member. Remember?
Right.
Whenever I mention board member, it's always something. I came in as a parent to watch my daughter play.
Yeah. Well, but like I just said, have you actually talked?
But the reason and what you were just saying about, was there any negativity when you and I walked through why should there be? I'm walking with the president of the board.
Well, no, that should, well, but.
I mean, come on, man. You think they're gonna really be negative towards me when you're standing right next
Well,
to me?
but like I said, they could have said, why don't you bring him?
They could have.
They didn't do that, and I don't think they would do that.
Wow.
And everything, if you want me to take this a little further, I will. I've talked to people about this, and I've not heard that. I've talked to people, administrators, about your situation. And they've said to me, I've never said anything. Now, again, I'm just telling you what they said to me. I don't, I'm not, that's what I hear. So again, I'm just telling you, I'm not doubting you, but I hope you won't doubt what I'm saying to you.
I'm not doubting nothing you're saying. I mean,
Anyway.
I mean, there's the president of the board, don't know, we don't like Mo Johnson. Of course, I'm not gonna tell you.
But Mona, I feel like we talk to some of the same people, and I don't hear that either. I don't hear negative.
I'm glad to hear that you're saying that, because that's
I don't
fine.
either.
Thank you.
So I don't get a thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm here to support people. I'm not here to run people down.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Goldston, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Wood and I had a talk last week for about 22 minutes. So let me just say something on the positive side. We are trying to do something about it. 22 years ago, I was in the school 3 days a week, volunteering. But it's hard to get people to come into the school now because of what's in the school. Okay? They don't want to be around, and most of the people now that would be volunteering are older, so they don't want to be around younger children. They don't, and I mean, that's just the way it is, because not saying the children are bad, they're rambunctious, but they have other things going on in their lives. So they don't want to be around younger children. We are recruiting people so they can get in there, because as we talked about, there's no hall monitors. None. And when I was in the school, and I did it for 4 years straight, I became assistant basketball coach. We had good mentoring, good tutoring, each one teach one. If you played sports, if you were deficit in this class, then the person on the team helped out with that one. We are trying to recruit people as community members to bring them into the school, but most of the people that we know, they're older people, and the young people who we know, they have jobs. So what do you do? They have jobs.
Yeah.
People have jobs. So the older people can come in and help out, and the younger people have to work. So these people are not saying 100% the system is broken, but you all think because they're voicing their opinions that we are not trying to get people in. I know what it takes to be in there, because if there's a parent in there of another child who's in the hallway, that child is gonna do better, and because that parent and that child, who's the friend of that child, might know that child's parent, that child is gonna do better. I know, because I saw it on a daily basis. It's difficult to get people into the school because of the lives that they are holding. We are trying to. Everybody who was sitting over here, we've been working on it. But it's hard to recruit people to bring them into the school because of their lives. I will make a commitment, because I have control of my schedule. I'll make a commitment to start coming into the school, even if I'm only here for an hour. I'll make a commitment to come into the school. I don't want to be a part of big brothers, big sisters, none of that. I'll just come into the school because a face makes a difference in the school. But I'm only one person, and if I can bring 10 in with me, or tell 10 to come in and spend that half hour or the 30 minutes, just in the hallway, it makes a difference for children to see a stranger in the hallway. But when that stranger gets to be common to them, as the old folks say, children start to smell themselves. So we have to make sure that we have people that's coming into the school and have good people coming into the school, because some people have different reasons for being in the school. So it's kind of hard to just say we want 20 people to come into the school when we don't know what 19 of those 20 are really in the school for. So it's kind of hard. And since last week, I've been talking to people about perhaps coming and just volunteering for the hour.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Wood said lunchtime. He said lunchtime.
That is a good time. Thank you.
We also talked about the weapon of mass destruction, and this is what it is.
I sent you a long email on that, and we can talk more later.
Okay. But it's just, we're trying to get people in school, but it's really hard to get people in school because of that line.
So you see our frustration.
Yeah.
I see your frustration, but the frustration of the people that's out in the community, it's frustrating to them too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's frustrating, and this, every child in here belongs to every person in here regardless.
Yes.
It's still our children.
Yep.
I can't agree more.
Okay,
Absolutely right.
that's all I got. Thank you for letting me put my arm down.
It's a workout.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
No, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stand up.
Yes.
Dr. Woods. Dr. Woods. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, it is still. I ended the meeting, I thought.
Thank you. Just let me know what, schedule is and